Welcome, everybody, to an all-new episode of the Combat Sports Report here on SportsGrid. I am Brian Ciano. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll take our weekly look at everything going on in the world of combat sports. We have a lot of action going on. We have multiple fight cards we watched last weekend. We'll have to recap those for you in both the PFL and the BKFC. We have more action coming up in the BKFC this week. We have to preview, and we're going to talk to some of the fighters involved in some of these great fights we've seen over the last couple weeks. Starting off with, coming up next thing, we'll talk to BKFC bantamweight Michael Larrimore, Papa G, who of course had a great win down there in Clearwater, a great knockout finish in the first round, very back and forth, a lot of action for just a minute and 20 seconds, 4 knockdowns just by him. So we'll talk to him about his win on that card. Later on, we'll talk to PFL bantamweight Mando Gutierrez, who of course had a great win in his first round of that bantamweight tournament for the PFL and gets ready to face off against Justin Wetzel, who we talked to last week, in the semifinals of that tournament. Both guys who were not even supposed to be in the tournament end up replacements in there and now will face each other in the semis after pulling off some great upsets. Of course, Gutierrez over Nuzzi in his first fight. We'll also preview what we have coming up in Salt Lake City this weekend for the BKFC. We'll recap the PFL final fight card for the first round of the 2025 tournaments. We had the big boys out there swinging. Light heavyweights and heavyweights were in action down there in Orlando. And we'll also preview some fights we have coming up this weekend out in California for Lights Out Extreme Fighting. All that coming up today on SportsGrid. But let's get right into it and talk about what we just saw this past weekend for the BKFC down in Clearwater, Florida. A great fight card down there, as you saw, and it was headlined by the light heavyweight battle between Jared, Captain Deadpool Warren, and Joseph the Dark Knight Creer. Of course, Warren, the former champion of this division, 7-3 in the BKFC, coming off the loss to Mike Richmond last December. Creer was 3-2, coming off a win over David Simpson by unanimous decision in December. Now falls to 3-3 as Jared Warren gets the victory. He thought he'd get a second-round TKO, thought he'd get back into form. He did even quicker than that. First round, 30 seconds is all it takes for Jared Warren to get the victory, as Creer was noticeably taller. He talked about that, Jared Warren, about fighting a taller opponent. A couple inches bigger was Creer. It looked like a whole head, but it didn't matter. Maybe even helped Jared Warren, because as Creer came forward early in the fight, Warren kind of grabbed that half tie clinch and started throwing some uppercuts, and that stumbled his opponent. That made him back up, and then once he put those hands up to just cover himself, that was a green light for Jared Warren to start unloading on him. Creer goes down 25 seconds into the fight as Jared Warren just keeps pummeling him with some punches, and the ref just waves it off from there. He says, that is it. That's enough to be seen there. And Jared Warren, as you see there, the uppercuts, and then just going left, right, just pummeling the Dark Knight and sending him back to the Batcave as Captain Deadpool gets the victory of comic book heroes here for the BKFC. And let's hear what he had to say after the fight in the ring.
It was everything, man. I'm realistic with myself. I knew if I dropped 2 in a row, I'd be out of the mix. You know what I mean? Still ranked at the top of the division. I knew I had to make a statement. And if that didn't, I don't know what does. So I want my belt back. I don't care which one of them win next week. I want it back.
We knew a win could get him back in that title picture where he was sitting in those light heavyweight rankings, of course, right there at the top. And he agrees and thinks he should get a shot at his belt once again. We'll have to see who holds that belt after this weekend's fight, of course, between Mike Richmond and Josh D-Day Dyer, which we'll talk about later on the show. And if he gets that opportunity as the next man up, obviously a great performance, showing he is still one of the best in the light heavyweight division. Before that, you had a bantamweight fight between Royal Ryan Reber and Matt Guyman. Guyman was 1-0 in the BKFC, coming in. Reber 6-1 in the BKFC. So obviously, advantage Reber. We thought he'd win by decision. He does just that. Majority decision, 49-45, 48-46, 47-47. Honestly, I don't know how that judge had it at 47-47. But, first round, Guyman was coming forward, pushing the action. We thought he did a great job. Reber, start slow. That's the way he does it. And Guyman knew that. He said in his pre-fight meeting that his opponent was going to get stronger as the fight went on, so he was going to have to bring it to him early. Looked like he was trying to end it early. Spent a lot of energy, but probably got the round there with a late combo, 10-9. Guyman was still coming forward with bad intent in the second round, but already breathing heavy, and Reber started to take advantage of that, and with 25 seconds left, puts him to the mat. Guyman was bleeding a lot right out of there, so 10-8 round by Reber not only ties it, now takes the lead. Guyman was still coming forward despite being beat up, despite being tired. Maybe took the third round, in my opinion, to get it back to 28-28, but then fourth and fifth round were all Ryan Reber, despite Guyman coming forward. Reber just picking him apart from distance, doing his thing, looking for the counter. I thought he won both those rounds and clearly had it 48-46 on my scorecard. One of the judges agreed with me, but either way, 2 of them gave it to Royal Ryan Reber, and he gets the victory to move to 7-1, and he had something to say after the fight as well.
Hey, were you not entertained? Let's go. This is my house. I told y'all they're going to have to kill me to get me out of here. Let's go. Laest, keep that belt warm for me, baby. Keep that belt warm for me.
He wants that shot of the title once again. Of course, he had that shot. It did not go well, but now after a couple of wins, looking to rebound and get back into that picture. One of the guys who is top ranked in this division. Does he be the next guy up against Blas whenever he fights again, or does he have to maybe get another one in there before he gets right back into that title mix? You see Ibarola just a little bit ahead of him. Richardson right there. So does he leapfrog either of those guys to a title shot? I don't know. Might need one more, but a great performance by him nonetheless as he gets another victory in the BKFC. Another guy who wants to get into that title mix, of course, was Jomi Escoboza. Had the title shot against Jared Warren, lost that. That's when Warren captured that belt down there in Florida. He was sitting there at 9-2 in his bare-knuckle career going against Jackson, and he did not disappoint. Again, putting himself there as one of the top guys in this division as we expected. We thought it'd be by TKO. We said maybe 4th or 5th round. We were just a little bit late because he gets the 3rd round TKO after the 3rd round. So it technically still falls in the 3rd round because the 4th round hadn't started. But right before the start of the 4th round, they send Jackson over to the doctor to get checked out. And he says no more. He cannot fight on as Jomi Escoboza was just picking him apart. The 1st round, Jackson was coming forward, trying to push the action. Escoboza was kind of hitting him here or there, but eventually gets the knockdown later on to make it a 10-8 round. 2nd, 3rd round, it really was just Escoboza coming forward. Escoboza kind of bullying his opponent, being bigger, being longer, getting his shots in where Jackson against the ropes couldn't even really get his own offense going, getting picked apart, getting bloodied, and that proves to be the difference as Escoboza. We had him up 30-25 at the end of the 3rd round because he got another knockdown that 3rd round to make it another 10-8 round. So he gets checked out and maybe bailed out by the doctor for more damage to Jackson because Escoboza gets the victory. Big fight. We'll talk to the winner of this one later on in the show, Michael Larrimore at bantamweight versus Samples. This was a big fight for Larrimore. He had just lost to Keith Richardson in his last fight. They're sitting there now at 2-1. So was Samples. So both these guys similar records, but maybe different positions in the division. As Larrimore with a victory can get himself maybe into that top 5, he gets the victory. He gets a 1st round TKO, minute 34 in, but it was a lot of action. You had him getting not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 knockdowns. But in the middle of that, there was some action the other way as after the 2nd knockdown by Larrimore, where I thought the fight was going to be over, he gets a nice right uppercut. Opponent just falls back like a dead tree. Somehow he bounces back up. When Larrimore goes on the attack, he gets caught and dropped. So now it was 2-1. Larrimore comes back, gets a 3rd knockdown, which I thought, again, ended the fight because his opponent went down hard, but he gets back up, keeps coming down, and after 4, ref says, you know what? That's enough. That's it. Larrimore gets the great victory, talks about how tough his opponent was, gives him his respect and his flowers, says he has a lot of work to do still, though. I like that. He's now 3-1. Didn't say, I deserve a title shot. I want him. Even though he had 4 knockdowns in the fight, says, I got lots of work on before I get into that level. So a great job by him. Another guy who put on a great performance, Nathan Rivera. Of course, we've seen some great bombastic performances by him, giving envelopes to Dave Feldman in his first fight about how he's going to get the victory. Well, he came out here and again gets a victory. 4th round, TKO. Castro was trying to come in there, a much smaller fighter, and make it a fight in a phone booth. But as the fight went on, Rivera was able to keep his distance, was able to pick his opponent apart. Got knocked down in the 2nd round. I don't think he agreed with it. He called it a slip, but Castro got the 10-8 round there. He was up. 3rd, 4th round, Rivera got the distance, turned it on, got a knockdown in the 3rd, got some more knockdowns in the 4th, and gets the TKO victory as right before the round ends, 11 seconds left in the 4th round, drops his opponent, who decides he does not want to get back up and get in the fight. That's the end of it. Does not get saved by the bell. And then Rivera calls out to Dave Feldman, look under your chair, take the prediction that he would get the victory. Apparently wants to go to Canada for his next fight. We'll see if he can get that as he gets another victory for the BKFC. A great performance from him. Great performance by many fighters down in Clearwater for the BKFC.
your college performance does not relate to the National Football League. It never
They
does.
played side by side
DRS.
with each other, and he wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. That's an issue. That's a major issue.
It wasn't
the
that
best
it wasn't as
quarterback
good as
prospect
Quinn
they've ever
Ewers.
got to Texas.
It wasn't that it wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. It was Quinn Ewers' program, which Steve Sarkisian
Why
made
would it be
very
Quinn
clear
Ewers' program?
the entirety of the time that Arch Manning was in Austin. So for you to argue that because Ewers is a 7th-round pick,
Quinn
Arch
Ewers'
Manning is
team.
not that good and not deserving of being first overall is asinine. It is wrong.
I
It
just
is
told
incorrect.
you he's going to be number 1 overall. My whole thing was I'm
you're
buying
doing
him
your
because
thing now
I
where you
expect him to
double
have
down on a
decent
take
season. No, I'm
that
not
is
doing that.
incorrect
The
when I
best
show it's
quarterback
incorrect.
prospect to ever hit college football can't play
He's
over a
not, though.
7th-round
There were
pick
two
who didn't even
perfectly
play
rated
good.
quarterback
Stop
recruits
it.
in the history
Stop
of
it.
the sport.
Quinn
Vince
Ewers couldn't
Young
even play at
and
Ohio
Quinn
State.
Ewers.
He couldn't even play at
Vince
Ohio
Young
State.
and Quinn Ewers. Go look it up.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
Welcome back into the Combat Sports Report here on SportsGrid. We continue to talk about this great card we just saw last weekend out there in Clearwater, Florida for the BKFC. And one of the guys who was a star on that card and had a great performance was, of course, Papa G, Michael Larrimore, who joins us now on the show. Michael, thanks so much for your time. We appreciate it. It was a great fight between you guys. As I said to you off there before we started the interview, I mean, it felt like a 5-round fight squeezed into 1 round. There was so much action between you guys, all those knockdowns that were going on in just a minute and 20. It was insane, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. But first, I want to, jump back a little bit because you had a great start to your BKFC career, obviously, with the great wins you had, and then kind of hit that first skid with that fight that you had last December against Keith Rockstar Richardson. Obviously not an opponent that anybody would, put their nose up at, a former champion. So losing to that guy isn't anything to be ashamed about. But what was it for you now, coming into this fight? How'd you feel after having that quick success and then kind of getting that slap of, that slap of the first loss last December? How were you feeling? What did you change? What were you looking at when you watched that fight back and prepared for this one?
First of all, thank you for having me, brother. But the Keith loss just reignited a new fire underneath my ass that I needed. Admittedly, I got kind of complacent and just excited to be in the position I was in. Not that I wasn't working hard and that I didn't take it seriously, but it was all very exciting. It was a new thing for me, the main event slot, and see my name under those lights and all that good stuff, man. It was really cool, but I needed an opponent like Ace, one that would come forward no matter what. You saw the heart that man had, bro, so I knew that I had to bring my best self into that ring, and you saw the end result.
Well, when preparing for an opponent like that, obviously is tough for anybody. It makes you get on your toes. But, one thing that keeps you on your toes and people that, just keep coming, no matter how tired you are and how relentless they can be, of course, is kids. As your nickname says, Papa G, you're our dad. And I saw, you brought your kids as some training partner there, just coming in there, trying to beat you up and see if you could, get out of the way. No better practice at avoiding the big shots of your opponent than trying to get away from your kids.
Yeah, man, my kids, both of them are fast as lightning, man. So I love being able to blend it all together. My daughter loves the gym. She loves my coaches, and I can't wait to get her training in the next few years. She's going to be a problem if she decides to fight me.
Well, it might be a secret weapon that we need to bring in for every camp, but you obviously, whatever you did this camp worked. You had a great game plan coming in. It was, some early success for you. It was kind of a mix of everything you've had, in your first few fights there, where you had some great power and success, started knocking him down right away early in that fight, and then you get him again a second time. I mean, honestly, that second and third knockdown that you had of him, I don't know how he got back up. I thought the fights were over then, especially that second one, that uppercut. The guy falls like a tree. Suddenly he gets back up and then catches you. So you had the success early, the 2 knockdowns. Then you get caught and you get dropped, and you have to come back from that. It was everything that you could have in one fight in just over a minute. How'd you feel going through that fight, and what are some of the things that you were thinking as the fight was going on? Obviously, the first 2 knockdowns, you got to feel pretty good. You got to be pretty surprised he got back up after that second one. And then what was going through your head after all of a sudden he catches you?
Yeah, man. Like you saw, I had celebrated, I think, 3 of the 4 knockdowns because I'm watching his eyes just do like the googly dance, and I'm like, nah, he's done. He's not getting back up. And then like the Undertaker, the dude just gets back up, and he's coming at me again, bro. And his knockdown, like he did hit me, but I was more off balance than anything. So it was just like, damn, like I got to stay sharp. But it was all just very exciting for me, dude. It felt like it was longer than a minute 20, I'll tell you that.
I mean, it was a great back and forth battle, even though you obviously held most of the success there. You get the 4 knockdowns there. Finally, with 26 seconds left on the 4th knockdown, the refs saw enough and waved it off. You know, you said you felt good at every knockdown, thinking it was going to be the end there. What did it feel like when it finally was the end? Was there relief at that point? That, I mean, obviously you were controlling some of the action, but like you said, you got caught a little bit. So what was it? Was there finally relief when it finally was the end and that was it? And it's like, all right, now I don't have to worry about this anymore. And what kind of, would you get a little tongue bathing from the coaches afterwards that you kind of got that little cockiness and let yourself get dropped? What was going on, you know, when it finally was over? And what did your coaches say about the fight?
It was a little bit of relief, but it was also a little bit like, damn, I was having fun. Like, because a minute 20 in the grand scheme of things, how long we train and all the work that goes into it, that's not a long time. And I'm pretty sure that was actually my longest fight in BKFC. But I was having fun. There is a little bit of the relief, though, like, I win. But immediately the next day, I was like, man, like, I kind of want to go get in another fist fight. And as far as my coaches go, there was a healthy amount of praise and a healthy amount of correcting. Because, like, the first thing I said was, sorry, I got a little excited, coach. I thought that I got him out of there. And he's like, I know, just stay sharp, stay calm, good work. But we got some stuff to work on. And it was a good, but it was a simple chat. And then, of course, getting backstage, they had to keep getting Jared ready. So, but we've chatted since, and there's going to be some chats in the near future. Good ones. They always give me productive criticism, of course, dude. I couldn't be more grateful to have the coaching system that I have.
Yeah, that actually was the longest fight. I went back and looked when he said that. 22 seconds, a minute, 1 second, 21 seconds. So, you know, a minute 20 seems like not that long for most people, but for you, it must have been like an eternity in there so far with your career with the BKFC. And it was a great performance by you. And I liked what you said afterwards as well. You know, a lot of guys, you know, the 3-1, you know, that's a great record. You're probably looking up there at who else is there and feeling, you know, king of the world. And I want to shout out the title, but you said, you know what, there is a lot to fix. You know, even before your coaches got to you, you said, there's a lot of stuff I got to fix after that. You know, I want another fight before I even think about a title shot. You know, you want a top 5, top 10 opponent, you said in the ring. So still have that humility despite the great performance you put on.
Yeah, man, because I've tasted defeat now, you know what I mean? And so I know what the other side of that feels like. And it's not that great, excuse my French. But I just, like, it was not a perfect performance. In my eyes, a perfect performance is I don't get hit at all. You know what I mean? And, like, that might be crazy because it's bare knuckle, but I think that I have the ability to make that happen. And so I hold myself to a very high standard, and my standards have only gone up because of this performance. I'm not going to take this and, like, I figured it all out. No, I want to start over from scratch every single camp because that's what we did with this one. I want to take that same approach and just keep getting better and better, man.
Well, that makes sense for you even more than most fighters. You know, there's plenty of guys we've talked to say, hey, I don't get paid by the punch. But, I mean, we even see on your social media, you got the modeling. You can't let that face get banged up too much. You got that side gig you got to hold on to. So, Papa G, Michael Larrimore, great performance by you. Thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to seeing you back in there in the squared circle for the BKFC.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for your time. God bless you guys.
Vegas knows how to show love to our everyday heroes. So if you're a first responder, you are in for some perks. Lots of hotels and casino offer big discounts to any first responders who can show valid work or volunteer ID. So treat yourself to a discounted stay. You deserve it. Let's get lucky.
The Warriors' future was uncertain. Are they going to break it up? Steve Kerr coming back. They get Jimmy Butler, and they surge all the way through, and now they're through the first round.
The Warriors have guys, because of how special their star 3 trio is, they can make the guys around them better. They can elevate the way that they play. And we saw that. Steph Curry, 3 points in the first half, steps up in the second half, 19 points in the second half to carry them home.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
Under him was Sharon Moore, who also participated in the cheating scandal with Connor Stallions. So you know what happens to him? He doesn't lose his job. He doesn't get a 10-year show cause. He gets to keep his job, and they go, we're just going to suspend you for 2 games next season.
Now, all of a sudden, they're coming out with everything that we knew to be pretty much true when it was happening. Yeah, they were cheating. It was like Belichick and the videotapes, right?
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of
15.5 points live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back into the Combat Sports Report here on SportsGrid. And even though we just had some great action for the BKFC, it does not slow down. We cannot take a break or a breather because they are not. They are right back into action this weekend coming up. BKFC 74 out there in Salt Lake City going on Saturday, 9 o'clock Eastern on DAZN. So make sure you check it out there with the BKFC headline by a big-time title fight. We talked, of course, about Jared Warren, Captain Deadpool, who just got another win at light heavyweight, the former champion. Well, now this belt that he lost in December to Mike Richmond is being defended right now out there in Salt Lake by the Marine. Of course, he's going to be fighting Josh D-Day Dyer, as we mentioned before, for a light heavyweight title. Of course, Dyer 4-1 in the BKFC. Last fought in August of 2024 after a first-round KO win of William Albrecht. He had no contest before that against Jared Warren and Joe Riggs, a guy who's been around for a while with the BKFC, but hasn't fought as consistently as some of the other ones. So now looking in here and getting his title shot, we thought maybe that could be the fight that you have against the first title defense for Jared Warren, because these guys had a long history. They had the fight that did not go. I think D-Dyer won that. Then they had the rematch that, of course, went to no contest because of the accidental shots to the back of the head. So maybe they were going to get a third one. No, that one got put on pause. Richmond got his chance, and now Richmond gets to be the first one to defend that title against D-Day Dyer. Richmond, of course, 7-2 in the BKFC. Coming off winning that title from Jared Warren last December down there in Florida. Dyer is going to be taller and longer in this fight, but that has not bothered the Marine Richmond in any of his fights in much of his career, but especially here with the BKFC, as he went from 145 and 155 all the way up to 185 and 205. So he's been the smaller guy in a lot of these fights, size-wise, height-wise, but it doesn't matter because the guy has such great precision, boxing, and power that it doesn't need to be the biggest shot that he throws at you. It doesn't need to be some looping overhand that knocks you out. He can just find the right spot on that temple and put your lights out, as Jared Warren found in December. Even though Jared Warren was coming forward, even though he was the one maybe in control of the action, it just takes one punch from Richmond sometimes, and we'll see if he can do that against D-Day Dyer, who's a tough opponent, who's a guy who has a lot of power in himself, a lot of grip. But for me, I'm still rolling with the champ here in Mike the Marine Richmond because of that precision power. This guy's been counted out so many times against guys who people thought were bigger, stronger, tougher. He even had back-to-back losses where he got knocked out, both 185 and 205, retired for a while, but has come back and shown that he is still one of the best in fighting, let alone the BKFC, let alone this division. So he is always one of the most dangerous guys. I predict that he is going to keep his title here against Josh D-Day Dyer, probably by a second-round TKO is how I'm looking at it here as we go into this fight. Then also the co-main event for that card is a heavyweight battle between Ben Moa versus Bobby Brents. Brents, the 43-year-old from Illinois, is 2-3 in the BKFC, had a 17-8 record in MMA before making the switch over. He's coming off back-to-back losses to Perdomo, Moro, and De Castro. So started off 2-0 in the BKFC, has slipped since, gone down that hill now 2-3 after 3 losses in a row, going against Moa, the 44-year-old from Utah, who was 1-0 in the BKFC, 5-2 in MMA before that, and before he became a fighter, was a tight end, playing at the University of Utah as well as with the Dolphins and Jets in the NFL for a short stint. Coming off the third-round Dr. Stoppage win in December of 2023, that was his only fight in the BKFC, so maybe a little rusty, I don't know, but going against an opponent who has suffered some big losses, in his last few fights, I'm going to go with Moa, even though he's coming in off a long layoff here. By second-round TKO, he's going to have that Utah crowd behind him. That's where he lives. That's where he trains. He's going to have that place packed. I think he gets his second victory inside the BKFC here in this heavyweight battle. You also have a cruiserweight matchup between Zach Cavender and Eric Lozano. Cavender 1-0 in the BKFC after a first-round KO win over Bracken last September. Lozano 2-3 in the BKFC, coming off a fifth-round TKO loss to Richmond last April. That was the first fight back for Mike Richmond, and he showed how tough he is that he got in there against Lozano, who, though his record doesn't show it, is one of the toughest guys in that division. This guy has power. This guy can last the whole 5 rounds, throw in bombs at you. So a lot of these guys, you get a couple of minutes into the fight, and all of a sudden their gas is gone if they don't knock you out. That's not the way Eric Lozano fights. He's a tough dude. He'll keep going the whole fight. He proved how tough he is staying in there for 5 rounds against Mike Noreen Richmond, who's knocked out plenty of guys before him. And I think he's going to show that grit one more time here and get a third-round TKO victory against Cavender in cruiserweight. So this is going to be a great card. Plenty of other fights as well. A lot of local fighters who are going to have some great crowd reaction to them as they come in that square circle and do their bidding. We'll see if they can get victories as well, but make sure you check that out. As we said, Saturday night, May 10th, BKFC 74 out there in Salt Lake City on the Zone. Should be an awesome card. And, of course, this main event has huge implications. Whoever holds that title, do they get Jared Warren next? Does Joey Escoboza jump him and get into that mix? There are plenty of options here depending on who holds that belt after Saturday night. Can't wait to see who it is for the BKFC.
You don't think that there's something to the fact that they blow all these leads against the Edmonton Oilers? It's like the Oilers could be down 4 goals and they come back like it's nothing.
We got a series now. I think this thing is going to reset, Scott. I think home ice advantage is going to hold true in this series. I think I told you that last week. I'm expecting this. I picked the Kings in 7 before the series started, and it's like plus 700.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Under him was Sharon Moore, who also participated in the cheating scandal with Connor Stallions. So you know what happens to him? He doesn't lose his job. He doesn't get a 10-year show cause. He gets to keep his job, and they go, we're just going to suspend you for 2 games next season.
Now, all of a sudden, they're coming out with everything that we knew to be pretty much true when it was happening. Yeah, they were cheating. It was like Belichick and the videotapes, right?
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The Warriors' future was uncertain. Are they going to break it up? Steve Kerr coming back. They get Jimmy Butler, and they surge all the way through, and now they're through the first round.
The Warriors have guys, because of how special their star trio is, they can make the guys around them better. They can elevate the way that they play. And we saw that. Steph Curry, 3 points in the first half, steps up in the second half, 19 points in the second half to carry them home.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
Welcome back into Combat Sports Report here on SportsGrid. Now we're going to shift gears and go over to the PFL, who had their big finale for their 2025 tournament first round. Of course, it was the big boys swinging this time with the light heavyweights and heavyweights matching up down there in Orlando, Florida. The last one of the first round, where you finally get some clarity now on who is going to be rounding out the semifinals for these divisions, as we have 8 divisions, all 4 cards, 2 each. Now we're going to combine now into the semifinals. Let's talk about what we saw down there in Orlando, though, with the big boys, starting with the headliner there between Mr. Wonderful Davis and Razor Rob Wilkinson. This was a big light heavyweight matchup. 2 guys who are probably favorites in this one. Davis, of course, the long-time UFC and Bellator fighter, now coming over to the PFL, the former Division I wrestler, going against Wilkinson, the 2022 light heavyweight champion of the PFL, former UFC fighter as well, the Australian. And, we expected a striking battle between these guys. We thought maybe Wilkinson by decision, because Davis goes to decision, doesn't get finished a lot. And, the fact that Wilkinson was a little younger, probably a little faster. That's not the case. Bill Davis gets the win by second round TKO, and it was kind of a tale of 2 different rounds there. The first round, both guys were looking to pick their spots. Wilkinson had a few good big shots there and even dropped Davis later in the round. It looked like this was going to be a fight for him like we thought. Davis has some good combos of his own, but Wilkinson, we thought, did a little bit more in that first round and took it 10-9. Then you get into the corner, and they get in the ear of Phil Davis, tell him, we need a little more from you. We need you to pick it up. And he does, coming in that second round right away. Comes forward, makes it more of a striking battle that he's in control of to start that second round. Later on in the round, Davis caught Wilkinson about 45 seconds in, jumped right on him, and finished him as the ref gets in there and stops it a few seconds later. But, as we said, Wilkinson bringing it to Davis in the first round. Davis's corner gets on him. He turns on the jets to start the second round and takes over that fight completely, gets the victory, and moves on. He will now face Sullivan Cauley in the semifinals of the light heavyweight tournament. The 40-year-old veteran showing what he can do still this point in his career. He said a couple things there about Wilkinson coming in, having a good game plan, and that he had to turn things around. Gives credit to his coaches and trainers for keeping him motivated. And let's hear what he had to say in the cage after getting the upset victory.
Feeling pretty good. Definitely glad to get the dub, and I can't wait to be back in the PFL Smart Cage to do my thing again. So, that's really it.
Bill Davis feeling great, still at 40, trying to do his best fighting, and we'll see if he can continue to do that in the semifinals against Cauley. We'll talk about his fight later on. But now he is sitting there at 25-7 with 1 no contest in his career. Wilkinson falls to 19-4 with 1 no contest. Then at heavyweight, you had Valentin Moldavsky versus Sergey Bilosteny. Moldavsky, the 33-year-old Russian, was the former interim Bellator heavyweight champion. Bilosteny, the 29-year-old Russian, had 2 fights with the PFL and Bellator. We thought Moldavsky would get the decision victory, and he does. Unanimous decision, 29-28. All 3 judges' scorecards in this one. It was, not the most exciting fight for heavyweights. Not a lot of big swings. Bilosteny was coming forward, landing a little more. Maybe in that first round, I gave it to him 10-9. I thought he opened up a little bit, got some good shots late. Second, third round was a lot of Moldavsky getting Bilosteny against the cage, getting him in the clinch, trying to go for the takedown, never really getting it, but controlling where the fight was, getting some shots here and there. I thought he won the second round 10-9 to even it. Broadcasters, thought that maybe he got it for Bilosteny, giving him 2 rounds. They thought Dan Hardy and, of course, Randy Couture, guys who have been in there, thought that maybe it was 2 rounds to Bilosteny. Not the way the judges scored it, because then round 3, of course, same thing. Moldavsky, I think, opened up maybe a little bit more, trying to get the takedowns, but he gets the victory on the judges' scorecards, 29-28, as I thought he should. Now he'll face Alexander Romanov in the semifinals. Bilosteny now 13-4. Moldavsky moves up to 14-4 with 1 no contest. 8 of those by decision. So think about that when he gets into the semifinal fight. Probably want to bet on it going the distance either way, because this guy loves to take it deep. Light heavyweight main fight there as well was Antonio Carlos Jr. versus Carl Moore. Another battle with former champions. Carlos Jr., the 35-year-old Brazilian, was a world champion grappler. 12 of his victories coming by submission throughout his career. The former UFC fighter, 2021 PFL light heavyweight tournament winner. Moore, the 33-year-old from Ireland, was a former Bellator fighter coming in there against the veteran in Carlos Jr. We thought Carlos Jr. with the submission victory. He got the victory, but it was by split decision. 29-28 on 2 cards, 29-28 for Moore on 1 of those cards. It was another situation where it was about the grappling game, was about Carlos Jr. getting it against the cage, getting the clinch, trying to keep it where it was, trying to get the takedowns. He got some in the round 1. He got some strikes against the cage as well, but a lot of it was him trying to get takedowns. And to some judges, that's what matters most. Even though he didn't do much with those takedowns, he made them count. I thought he got round 1 with 2 different takedowns in that one, 10-9. Round 2, he goes for more takedowns, holding him in the clinch against the cage. Moore got some good knees, got one to the groin about halfway through the round that made it split for a second, but then the commission said that's clean. They had some replays there in Orlando that, they go back and look at it and say, okay, no, it's different. So instead of starting the split, starting them back against the cage, but Carlos Jr. got the takedown again with 90 seconds left, held side control for much of that, so got that round up 2 then. And I thought you had a good round by Moore in the third round, got some shots during the few breaks they had while they were standing, while Carlos Jr. was trying to get the takedowns, got stuffed a few times, but still, those first 2 rounds with those takedowns end up giving it to Carlos Jr. I had a 29-28 on my scorecard. 2 of the judges had it that way as well, and he gets the victory to go on to face Simeon Powell. Moore now 12-4, Carlos Jr. now 17-6 with 2 no contests. Also at light heavyweight on the main card, you had Albrechtsen versus Simeon Powell, who we just mentioned, of course, moving on. So guess what? As you just heard us say, he gets the win here. Albrechtsen, the 31-year-old Swede, the former Risen and Bellator fighter, lost 3 or 4 coming in. Powell, the 26-year-old from England, former PFL fighter, or current PFL fighter, and former. We thought that he'd get the win by TKO, that he was a stronger fighter, the younger fighter, and he did get that indeed. The second round TKO, 205 into the round, he gets the win. Albrechtsen was coming forward early, trying to get the clinch, trying to get the takedowns. Powell was able to stuff him, start to find his range late in that first round and stuff Albrechtsen takedown attempts to kind of, nullify his opponent's offense while still starting to find his own. And then the second round, did a great job at one point while Albrechtsen comes in for the takedown, kind of olays him, kind of Matador style, and switches the position to have Albrechtsen against the cage, and then starts getting enough space to just throw them bows like ludicrous. And he dropped them on his opponent, dropped Albrechtsen for a second round TKO with some great shots against the cage, some great footwork right there to avoid the takedown, and not only avoid it, but get his opponent in a bad position and unload on him. Says that he knew he could finish Albrechtsen. He's back to loving what he will do, what he's doing here. That maybe there was a point in his career where not feeling great about his choice here in his career, but now loves it again. And he thinks he's going to be champion this year, and we'll see if he can as he moves to the semis now at 11-1 in his career. On the prelim card, you had the heavyweights finished it up there with Romanov versus Tim Johnson. Romanov, the 34-year-old Moldovan, former UCF fighter, against the 40-year-old former UFC fighter in Tim Johnson. We thought Romanov by submission, and it was Romanov by submission. First round, standing guillotine in this one. They're battling in the clinch early on, but then Johnson kind of ducks under a Romanov punch, and that leads his body right into Romanov's, who just throws on the standing choke there. And Johnson tapped almost immediately, was holding his chest when he was down on the mat after the fight. So maybe, when he got pushed against the cage and started to get torched by his opponent, that he had, maybe busted a rib, pulled something. Either way, he goes out quickly. And now Romanov moves on to face Moldavsky, as we said before, in the semis, and moves to 19-3 in his career. Also at heavyweight, you had Oleg Popov versus Carl Williams. Popov, the 33-year-old Russian, 2024 tournament runner-up, was supposed to fight Linton Vassell, but it was pulled at the beginning of fight week and changed to Williams. Williams, a 35-year-old from Atlanta, former UFC fighter. We thought it would end up being Popov by split decision. Obviously, our prediction for this fight meant nothing because the fight was changed quickly. We thought Popov would get the victory, before the opponent was changed. He did here, split decision, 29-28 on 2 judges' scorecards, 28-29 for his opponent the other way. Really selling out for the takedowns, trying to get Williams against the cage and the clinch, trying to get the takedowns. Really didn't do much, but did enough in controlling where the fight was for all 3 rounds, and maybe a little less in round 3, where I thought his opponent had a good job. Round 2, his opponent had it, maybe stole the round. But either way, he gets the victory, faces Rodrigo Nascimento in the finals. You had Sullivan Carley with a great fight against Polizzi before that at light heavyweight, where, you would talk about some elbows. Polizzi goes for the takedown early, and he just throws some down elbows on his opponent, knocks him down, gets the finish. He moves on now and will face Philip Davis, talking about how great a striker he is. We also had Babley versus Nascimento early on it. Babley, the English fighter, just couldn't fend off his Brazilian opponent. We thought he'd get the submission. Instead, he gets the split decision victory to move on in that tournament against Popov.
New to social casinos? You're in for a treat. Most online casinos offer bonus cash or coins just for signing up. That's your own little participation trophy. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
Rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple 15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Dr. Dre said at one time here, James Wood, always up to no good, man. I like a couple players in that lineup, and on a day-to-day basis can really get after it. Again, playing good baseball, 15-19 overall. We'll see how they pursue.
The Reds. Reds are a really fun team. Reds are important. Talk about them a ton, and I don't think they'll compete for a wild card. But again, they're a team like the Nats where they're going to give other teams trouble at times, and they can't overlook that matchup. Cubs win the division, as we all expected.
Pro baseball today, only on SportsGrid.
The Warriors' future was uncertain. Are they going to break it up? Steve Kerr coming back. They get Jimmy Butler, and they surge all the way through, and now they're through the first round.
The Warriors have guys, because of how special their star three trio is, they can make the guys around them better. They can elevate the way that they play. And we saw that. Steph Curry, 3 points in the first half, steps up in the second half, 19 points in the second half to carry them home.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Congratulations on your victory.
Thank you, brother.
With getting this first victory out of the way and having such a big opportunity, how do you put it in perspective that you are only 2 wins away from such a big accomplishment?
I'm 1 win away, and then 1 win away again. So, and that's the way I look at it. You know, I come from a wrestling background, and this is just a glorified wrestling tournament with punches involved. So, to me, I got more experience than anybody in this bracket when it comes to wrestling tournaments or tournament format in general. And I can't make that mistake this many. Like, I've made that mistake so many times in my lifetime, I can't do it again. I can't look past the next guy or the next guy. Every fight's the most important. Every fight is the 500,000 fight. Every fight is the one that's going to get me there. So I have to go out there and I have to beat Justin, and then I have to go beat whoever it is that's stepping in front of me in the finals. But as I proved tonight, I got the best team in the world. I got the best guidance in the world. I have all the resources to win this entire thing, and I believe in myself. I truly do. And I'm willing to go into the fire and get it like I showed today.
Welcome back into the Combat Sports Report here on SportsGrid. Right there was Mando Gutierrez, who, of course, got a great victory in his first round matchup for the PFL at the beginning of this tournament. Had a great win over Newsy, was underestimated by his opponent, was underestimated by plenty of people coming in, I'm sure, and made sure that they know now who he is, what he's about, and how tough he's going to be in this tournament. Thanks so much, Mando, for joining us. We appreciate it. I saw you celebrated the win and a nice little trip out afterwards, out in the sticks there, as you put it. You had some great food. You had the dogs out there, getting some time away from things. What was it like for you having that nice relaxation after that victory? I'm sure you felt a lot better going out there after a win than if you were trying to recover from a loss.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But the thing is, you got to take this sport for what it is. It's a journey, no matter what. So I never let myself get too high. I never let myself get too low. So regardless, that was gonna be the plan. I was gonna go out there, take time, be a good boyfriend. To my girl who she didn't sign up to be a fighter. I did. So I go out there. I do what I do. Go through my entire preparation, and she's right there alongside me. So she deserves to, get some alone time, and we get to hang out and take the dogs out and do all that good stuff. There's nothing wrong with smelling the roses a little bit as long as you get right back to work.
And right back to work is what you're going to have to do now as you move on this tournament. Obviously, not like a regular situation with a fight career where you get a fight and then you might be waiting 3, 6, 8 months, maybe years sometimes if you're coming off injury. I saw you had a post at the top of your Instagram there from a couple of years ago. You're just pretty much begging to fight. You're like, someone give me a deal. I want to fight somewhere. I had that weight. So obviously you're not going to have that this time around. You got to get right back in there and have a great fight, which we're going to talk about coming up in a few minutes against Justin Wetzel. But let's talk about this fight you just had against Newsy first, because you felt disrespected coming in there. You said after that you said there was nothing about you that impressed him. But hopefully he's impressed now. Do you feel like that was maybe just some trash talking, hyping up the fight, like you have to do as part of your job almost, or do you think this guy really didn't think that much, and it bit him in the butt there as you fly in there and get the victory against him in the first round.
Typically, there's a lot of guys that want to sell the fight and do things like that. There's nothing wrong with talking. There's nothing wrong with going about your business and doing things the way you feel like you want to do them. But when you start talking about my body of work and my livelihood and what I've done throughout my career, like nobody can deny that I show up. I'm out there, win or lose. I show up. I perform. I'm a man of honor. I'm a man of respect, and I deserve that respect. And if I don't get it, I take it. And that's just how it was to me. For whatever reason, this particular fight felt a little bit different. I don't know what it was about him that struck a chord with me, but I felt like he was a bully, and I don't like bullies. So it was just a little bit of added fire. It was just added fuel to the fire for me. And it made it really easy to get through fight week. Let's put it that way. Once I heard that, I was hearing them talk about the things that he said during his interviews and stuff like that. I was just extra motivated, put a little bit of extra pop on my midsessions that week, run an extra mile, make sure I stay super, super sharp while I'm cutting the weight, keep myself in a good mental state, mental zone, and, just cruise through everything because I knew it was coming. I could feel it all along, and I knew that it was going to be a long night for him, or a quick night, however you want to put it. But thank God I came out with the dub. I was able to keep it moving. But one thing's for sure, regardless of what people say and regardless of what people do in the fight, it's not like me to act out of character. It's not like me to push somebody after or take jabs at somebody after a fight. But it was just heat of the moment, I was real emotional. I was carrying the weight of that all week, and I was just pissed off. So it felt good to get it off my chest, but at the same time, I do regret pushing him because that, like I said, I'm a man of honor and a man of respect. So he deserves respect just as much as I do, and I didn't feel the best about that, but for whatever reason, people ate it up.
Well, he may try to be a bully outside the cage and get in your head, but you were the bully once you guys got in there and that door was locked, coming forward, pushing that pace, getting that action, and eventually, making a big opportunity for you once he slipped, jumping right on him and getting that body triangle in there before you got the choke. So a great performance by you and making him respect you after that, I'm sure. But, another guy that you have coming in front of you right now, of course, is Judson Wessel. We talked to him last week. He talked about how this is kind of a long time coming. This is both of you guys slid into this tournament, maybe not were expected to be part of it, end up getting your chances and, make the most of it, obviously with those great upsets in the first round, and now face each other despite probably having, he said you guys were supposed to do it beforehand, before the PFL, didn't work out, and now you get to face each other now. What are you looking forward to when you match up against him? What do you think you can do to exploit him and get yourself into the finals of this tournament?
He's a tough guy, so I just have to stick to my game plan. I got a good game plan cooking with my coaches. I'm super excited and super ready to go. He's a tough guy. He's durable, and it's going to make us both rise to the occasion. So I'm super excited for that kind of fight. Him and I were supposed to fight back in January. We've actually tried it multiple times. It's just never worked out. But adding a zero at the end of our paycheck definitely is an added motivator for this. So it's real nice to get compensated properly to fight a dog like him. So I'm going to go out there, I'm going to do my thing, and I'm going to let it fly just like I always do. That's one thing people can always bet on when it comes to me. So I'm excited.
Busy man, not just getting ready for this fight, but as we can see, you're in your barbershop there. You do that, as your 9 to 5, and we even see behind you the great street art. You have a great propensity for that. We've seen some great pictures on your social media. So a man who wears many hats, not just literally, of course, with the baseball cap and the cowboy hat, but in all the things he does and is proficient in as well. Great job by you and everything you've done. Great job in this first fight. And we're looking forward to you guys matching up in these semifinals here for the PFL. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, brother.
Vegas knows how to show love to our everyday heroes. So So if you're a first responder, you are in for some perks. Lots of hotels and casino offer big discounts to any first responders who can show valid work or volunteer ID. So treat yourself to a discounted stay. You deserve it. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The Warriors' future was uncertain. Are they going to break it up? Steve Kerr coming back. They get Jimmy Butler, and they surge all the way through, and now they're through the first round.
The Warriors have guys, because of how special their star three trio is, they can make the guys around them better. They can elevate the way that they played. And we saw that. Steph Curry, 3 points in the first half, steps up in the second half, 19 points in the second half to carry them home.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
Under him was Sharon Moore, who also participated in the cheating scandal with Connor Stallions. So you know what happens to him? He doesn't lose his job. He doesn't get a 10-year show cause. He gets to keep his job, and they go, we're just going to suspend you for 2 games next season.
Now, all of a sudden, they're coming out with everything that we knew to be pretty much true when it was happening. Yeah, they were cheating. It was like Belichick and the videotapes, right?
The early line. Only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple 18.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Great to get to know our man Mando Gutierrez there as he continues to move on in the PFL Bantamweight tournament. Great to talk to Bantamweight for the BKFC. Michael Larrimore as well, Papa G. Both these guys, great performances so far in their recent fights. Can't wait to see what is next for them. But speaking of recent fights, we have more action coming up this weekend. We talked about the BKFC card this weekend. We also have one for Lights Out Extreme Fighting. They have Lights Out XF24 coming up this weekend, so make sure you're checking that out if you get the Lights Out app. All that on there free for you to check out there for, of course, May 10th on the app. On the app, you can find out these great fights. Let's give you a little preview of what's coming up so you can check it out and enjoy the fights as well. At heavyweight, headlining this card, Tyrell Fortune, who we talked to last week on the show, going against Carl Ciano. Of course, Fortune 14-3, the 34-year-old. It's 77-inch reach coming in there at heavyweight. 14-3 in his career, 8 of those by KO, TKO. Going against his opponent, Ciano, who is 41, 81-inch reach, 13-15 in his career. So not uneven there. A couple more losses than wins, but been around for a while there. Has 10 wins by KO, TKO, 9 losses by decision, 6 losses by KO, TKO. So, you looking at the records there, you can see these guys want to stand and trade as many heavyweights do. His Fortune's opponent is a former PFL and Bellator fighter. He, of course, is a former Bellator fighter. Wanted to make his way into the UFC. He told us hopefully doing that through Lights Out, hopefully doing that through a victory here. We will see if he can further those dreams. I think he will. I'm going to pick him to win this by a first round KO. TKO, obviously, much younger, probably more in the prime of his career, has better opponents, and I think is going to have a pretty, not simple way through his opponent, but I think he's going to get the job done. A lot of his opponents, a lot of his finishes have been early in the fight. He's a quick starter, so we'll see if he can do that again here to start his lights-out career. Also on this card, you have welterweight Jake Babian versus Marcus Walson. We talked to Babian on the show. 4-1 in lights-out in his MMA career. 2 of those wins by first-round KO, TKO. One of those first-round wins was his first fight for lights-out. Last fight where he had a 15-second finish. This is not a guy who has hung around long in any of his fights. So we'll see if he can get that quick start again against his opponent, Walston, who is 2-3 in his MMA career, has lost back-to-back fights and 3 of his last 4, all those by strikes. So not a good recipe for Walston to get back in victory performance here as going against Babian, who is a quick starter, a big striker. That has seemed to play into the way Walston has lost his last handful of fights there. So we're going to go with Babian by first round TKO once again as he likes to get out there and right away rip into his opponent and see if he can get the finish. I think he does that once again here for Lights Out Extreme Fighting. Also on the card, you have a catchweight battle between Alan Stott versus Luis Fernando Medina. Both these guys are 1-0 in their MMA career with a second-round TKO victory. So, not really sure who's going to win this fight. Both these guys are pretty early. They've had, some amateur experience, but we haven't seen enough of them on the pro MMA scene for me to really know if they are going to get the victory over either of these guys, but it'll be fun to watch and see as they progress into their careers. We'll also have another catchweight battle between Raheem Gilliam versus Roger Jackson on this card. Gilliam, the 28-year-old, has 1-2 MMA career with 2 losses in a row. Going against Jackson, the 25-year-old, who is 0-1 in his pro MMA career by unanimous decision. Again, guys with a lot of experience here at the amateur ranks, now getting into their pro careers pretty early on. Tough to see who these guys are going to, what they've shown so far or who's going to win. But both these guys at a critical juncture right now in their career, as well as Drake Flores and Khalil Pearson. The featherweight battle, Pearson making his pro debut. 3-5 is his amateur record, while Flores is only a split decision draw in his pro career. Only one battle there, as we said, so far in his pro battles, his pro career, but 7-4 as an amateur. So plenty of more experience as an amateur than his opponent in Pearson. You got 8 fights versus 11. I think I lean towards Flores, but both these guys very early and very important for them to get this victory if they can early in their pro career. As we saw, all the time with Lights Out Extreme Fighting, you get some amateur fights, you get some pro fights, a lot of fighters early in their career as you start to get to know them, and they hopefully build their record up and build their reputation like a Jake Babian or like a guy in Terrell Fortune who's had a lot of experience now coming in there trying to make his name even bigger to get bigger promotions and bigger opportunities there for him in his fighting career. A lot of great fights, so make sure you check it out on the Lights Out app. Make sure you check us out next week as we'll be back here on the Combat Sports Report on SportsGrid. We'll be talking about the fights that we saw for Lights Out. We'll be talking about the fights we saw for the BKFC out there in Salt Lake, and maybe even start to look ahead to some of the other fights we will see around the summer here for the BKFC, for the PFL, and we even have a card over there in Europe for the PFL that we'll be recapping as well. All that next week here on SportsGrid. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll talk to you then here, same time, same channel.
The Warriors' future was uncertain. Are they going to break it up? Steve Kerr coming back. They get Jimmy Butler, and they surge all the way through, and now they're through the first round.
The Warriors have guys, because of how special their star 3 trio is, they can make the guys around them better. They can elevate the way that they play. And we saw that. Steph Curry, 3 points in the first half, steps up in the second half, 19 points in the second half to carry them home.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
Malaysia Fawali, who you guys know I am a huge fan, has decided to switch allegiances and stay in league. And now she's going to go play for Kim Mulkey. Her, Flau'jae Johnson in the backcourt. It's going to be interesting to watch. You wonder sometimes with roster construction, maybe too much is not too good.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
I don't know what he was doing taking step-back threes at the end of that regulation when he's got bigs on him and he should be driving to the hole.
It's already bad enough that I'm playing with all these NBA and D1 studs that are unstoppable, and I'm the worst one there, and I can still ball with them. But if I start calling fouls, they'll revoke my privileges. Like, I man up when I play with them.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
The 2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.